What's going on, guys? Kyle here, and today I'm joined by my good friend Khasino. What's going on, man?
What's going on?
And today we're jumping into Captain Marvel. Last time we did Omega War. This time we're checking out what you can do in Dimension Duel. How are you doing this season?
Let me look. I have my phone in front of me. I am currently rank 4, but I've got over 2,100 points, so I'm already in Avenger. And yeah, I mean, the more important thing is as far as like people that I have to face, there's like 4 or 5 people that can beat me, and I think right now there's one player that reliably beats me on a different server. Although,
Mhm.
disclaimer, uh, all 3 of the Black Widows that almost certainly would beat me majority of the time are in my alliance, so I don't match them.
That's definitely something interesting. If you can't beat them, join them.
Yep.
Uh, but onto the abilities. Let's get that breakdown. We're starting right here with Mighty Flight Sonic Boom. Is there a reason why you picked the first slot versus the others?
Yes, absolutely. Essentially, a lot of her dual potential revolves around one active trait, which is rewarding you with 40% of your dodge gauge whenever you use a light speed movement ability. And so, unlike the other 2 light speed movement abilities that I also have equipped, which we'll talk about, this one is just here to serve to feed you a dodge. The others are also to feed you a dodge, but they have other benefits as well. But this one is
Mm-hmm.
just to feed you a dodge. That's the short answer. It's a
Low
very
cooldown, low stamina, and the
short.
I had the animation up. It's a very quick animation, doesn't lock you into place. Even if they dodge, you're not stuck throwing a wire like Widow, whatnot.
Yep, exactly. And you usually won't land it, but there is one little combo you can pull off. It dashes you to your target. So if you know they're winding up something to blast you with, you can use that to jump right in their face. And then because you get a dodge for using it, you can then dodge through them and end up behind them and make them miss stuff.
Try to always have a dodge up. That's great. Uh, Over here, we have Energy Impact Cosmic Recharge. You want to talk to us about how this ability helps you out?
Yeah, so this is another lightspeed movement ability, so it's another guaranteed dodge that you get after using it. But more importantly, this feeds you a ton of your ultimate cooldown. And when it comes to Captain Marvel, for the most part, if you can get to your ultimate, you're probably going to be fine. Because, firstly, your ultimate is probably just going to wipe them out. But if they survive your ultimate, you're debuff immune, you have 50% more attack. You can't be guard broken. Anything you hit them with, you're going to outtrade them because you hurt so much. So the goal is to make it to your ultimate, and this speeds that along tremendously, in addition to rewarding you with a dodge. So as it currently stands, if you have enough of the specialization that gives you increased ult recovery when you're above half health, you need to use this twice. So you use it out the gate. It's on cooldown for roughly 20 seconds. And when
Mm-hmm.
you use it that second time, you're ready to ult. So
And people keep talking about, oh, I wish I could use my ultimate in a Dimension Duel. You're saying you can reliably hit your ultimate?
yeah, the only times that I'm not able to are if I die before I can use that ability twice, which is really, really rare with this light speed movement setup.
That's awesome. On to the next skill. We have right here Photon Flight, and you like to use Faster. Dash back and forth. You want to walk us through that ability?
Yep. This is the third light speed movement ability, and so running theme here. You just want to keep spamming these light speed movement abilities while you're waiting to get your ultimate, because each one of these, in addition to whatever they do on their own merit, they just keep giving you not only a full dodge, but a little bit towards another dodge. So you're basically going to dodge right before using one of these so that you're guaranteed safe while using it. And then once you've used it, you can immediately dodge again afterward. So it's kind of just a free opportunity to try to tag them with something. And then this ability really takes it one step further because she has iframes during this ability. So
Mm-hmm.
you can dodge into the start of this one, wait a second or two, and the second you can be targeted, you can use this ability, which will not only feed you a dodge, but while you're using that ability, that ability itself can be used as a dodge.
If you're somehow stuck without a dodge and they're lining up the snipe on you, you could just dash through them.
Correct. And not only that, but it doesn't do a small amount of damage. It stings quite a bit as well.
It does a little bit. And this is the one that everyone loves. The Cosmic Energy skill, Photon Blast, Photon Focus.
Yes. Now, especially the way I play Captain Marvel, this is kind of the make or break ability. Many matchups fall on whether this is used at an appropriate time or not. There are many weaknesses to this ability, but assuming that you have avoided some of the traps you can fall into, this ability will do for the average character. It'll hit them for like 80% of their health if you can hit them with it from beginning to end of it. It just locks on, it's a single target ability, and it just funnels damage at them nonstop. So essentially, if you end up in a situation where you have to trade damage, right, you're just going to hold still, they're going to hit you, you're going to hit them. There's maybe like one ability in the game, I think a Widow Headshot is one of the only things that might out-trade this. But otherwise, anything that you're letting them hit you with is not going to hit as hard as you just pelting them with this.
And if they're trying to get out of the way of it, it seems to last for quite a bit of time. So how many dodges do you think it takes? If they do 2 dodges, do you think they still get hit by the last bit? Or
I know for a fact that they do. So what's interesting about it is the way to break the beam, what can really screw up a Captain Marvel, is if you dodge specifically
backward
out range. Yes, you can outrange it, and once she starts it, she can't move. So if they go out of range, or if they use an ability like Spider-Man has one where he goes off the map, if you use an ability that takes you off the map or gets you out of range of it, then it will break, and it's a very long cooldown. So
we'll talk about how you can get around some of those issues when we get to the tips and tricks at the end. But there are ways around the downside of this ability.
Yes, for sure. But at the end of the day, I put a lot into making this ability hit as hard as it can. And if you set it up right, you're just going to melt people, and they're going to know they did something wrong and be kind of perplexed about why they melted so fast and just try to figure out what just happened.
The last ability right here is Photon Buster Focal Energy Shot. Is there a reason why you like this versus the other options?
Absolutely. So the first 3 abilities, the light speed movement abilities, they're really good utility, but they don't actually hurt. At least one of them is really hard to land. I'd say 2 of them are pretty tough to land. So you do actually need abilities designed to hit your opponent. And while the beam is plenty of damage to take an opponent out, it's a really long cooldown, so you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. I mean, you sort of do anyway, but specifically the focal energy shot, that one takes 1 or 2 seconds to actually aim and fire, and it's heat seeking, and it's a lot of damage, and it's a fairly low cooldown. So in between all the dashing that I tend to do during the opening portion of the fight, that's an ability that I can just throw at them, and it's usually going to land because it's really hard to predict when to dodge it. It's kind of
you were saying that people have a hard time with dodging this ability because it's so slow in the beginning. They see you using the skill, you put your arms back, the lasers go up, and
that's
then
hard, but the big thing is it's really narrow, and it, like, once it's locked on, it will follow them anywhere. So they'll see the animation, and what we talked about in the other video. You're absolutely right. They sometimes will just dodge when they see her like start to fire it, but a lot of times, like, they're trying to stay at a certain distance until they're ready to go in with something. So this one works really well in that you just step into range, and it has a good firing range, and you queue it up, and then you'll stop moving for a couple seconds, so they'll be really far away from you because they'll be continuing to try to put distance between you. But once it's locked on, it's going to fire at them, but by the time it gets near them, it's condensed in this like really tiny little super fast moving packet of damage. So
would you say it's roughly a third or maybe half the Dimension Duel map?
Yeah. It's pretty good range.
Okay. That's it for the abilities. Let's check out the part that you really enjoy, the specializations.
Yep, these are key.
Now, we'll start off with the one that really matters the most, it seems like, Photon Absorption, the dodge gauge.
Yep. And as I mentioned in the other section, if you use a light speed movement ability, it is going to fill 40% of your dodge gauge. And you only need 33% of your dodge gauge for a dodge. So
Remember, the dodge gauge is the full bar, not just one individual of the three.
Now, I will say, by the way, if you're watching this and you're like an entry level or a newer Captain Marvel, don't be discouraged if you're not having a lot of success in Dimensional Duel. She is, I don't want to say late game because it's kind of mid game, but she is, she breaks late in regards to she is incredibly specialization dependent. And not only does she need them, but she needs them at a high level. There's certain specializations that are pretty useful as soon as you get them. But one like this, where, you know, if it's only refunding, you know, out the gate 4% of your dodge gauge, 4% of your dodge gauge, you're not even going to notice. You need a healthy amount of levels.
To hit the numbers we're talking about right now, you need the 40%, which is a 10/10, which
I'd say anything above 8 out of 10, you're very, very comfortable.
You're getting a full dodge at that point.
Right. And so I have it as 7 out of 10, which is almost a full dodge, which in practice is 98% of the time a full dodge. But anything below that, it's a little shaky. And a lot of her specializations are like this. So she's very, very formidable once she has her specializations in place. But don't be discouraged if you're not immediately seeing results out of her. She breaks late.
And this is the second most important one from what I gathered from you. Increase ultimate skill gauge recovery by 50% when above 50% HP.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's because you're going to be pretty safe with all those dodges at the start of the fight. You're really not going to take a lot of damage, so you're just buying a lot of time where you're getting this increased ultimate skill gauge recovery. And as we've talked about, if you survive until you get your ult, it's pretty much a win for you. Like, you have to really misplay it, or it has to be crazy close for this not to do the trick. So yep, you're just buying time, and you're getting increased ult recovery, and that modifies the amount of ultimate recovery bar that you fill when using the Lightspeed Movement ability, which feeds you ultimate recovery.
Which allows you to get your ultimate in Dimension Duel, which is a huge accomplishment. So it seems like the third one is between these two red ones. You want to lead us through the pros and cons? I have the attack one up right now.
Yes. So the attack one is if you're going more offense focused, and it's basically as soon as you've been in combat for 6 seconds, which doesn't take long, takes about 6 seconds, from then on you have 20% increased attack. So it's just a really big attack boost that you get to carry with you for the duration of the fight, and it's a lot of firepower.
And the other one over here is very interesting when it comes to your lightspeed movement skills.
Yes. If you want to be even more defensive, this one, anytime you use a dodge, which you're going to have so many dodges, you're going to be using them quite often, every 6 seconds you can use a dodge, and it will refund 2 seconds off the cooldown of all your lightspeed movement abilities. So
6 seconds back.
Yeah, you can shave 6 seconds off, and like one of the first ones we talked about has like a 6.8 second cooldown.
Lead one into the other one, right?
Yeah, you can pretty much, if you have that ability, you can chain dash, dodge, dash, dodge, dash, dodge. not forever, but for a very long time. Now, that's not the optimal strategy because the dashes themselves don't do that much damage, and some of them are hard to land. So it is a very effective strategy for staying alive.
It's the long game.
You'll have to open yourself up to some risk, try to land some harder hitting abilities, but you can definitely use that to be really, really safe.
And I believe you go with this green one down here, right? Battle Awakening for the revive?
Yeah, this one, I mean, if there's any game mode where this really shines, Dimensional Duel. And essentially what this one's doing is, as soon as you take damage that would kill you, instead you're invincible for 2 seconds, and you'll heal for 35% of your health. And
but you said there was a small issue with this?
Yeah, it's a little finicky. Sometimes it just doesn't seem to proc. Now, it's supposed to only activate every 10 minutes, but it's definitely not spaced out. Like, you don't have to do your dimensional duels 1 per 10 minutes. It seems to activate more than that, and there is an indicator on the ability under your name where you can see the cooldown to know if it's on cooldown. But for some reason, it doesn't activate sometimes. The going theory is that if, let's say you have it up to where it will heal you for 35%, the going theory is if you take a single ability that damages you for more than 35% when it deals fatal damage, then it will just kill you. So whatever
It's
amount
effectively acting as if you have 135% HP.
Yes, it seems to be.
Now, the last thing I really want to look into before we go into the tips and tricks is your Omega cards.
Okay.
What would you recommend for Dimension Duel?
If you could be so lucky, there's two special cards in particular that are really good. There's the Storm card, which is PvP damage decrease as the fixed stat, and then the Holy Grail, the Captain Marvel card, surprise, surprise, which is PvP damage increase as the fixed stat.
What about your exclusives? What are you wanting to roll?
Again, PvP damage increase and decrease are
Who would have thought?
I know. Surprisingly effective in Dimensional Duel.
Not super villain damage, you sure?
Not super villain damage, and then there's only two other options. Air to surface, which is alright, but like some of these abilities put you on the ground. So I don't like air to surface because it's not always active, and then like if you're fighting anyone who just also flies, that's out the window. So the only other one that's viable is defense pierce, which is always effective.
Well, now you have 4 slots open. What are we looking at?
So again, I like the general advice I give is to just lean into what is giving you good rolls. But if I could have anything I wanted, there's not a good source for accuracy or anything. So I think if you're not capped on defense pierce, you should probably try to cap on defense pierce. And then I tend to just go for raw attack. Anything though, if I can get crit rate or crit damage, I'll go for that. If I can get some total damage, I'll go for that. But yeah.
Are there any 2 pieces you look out for?
No, I don't worry too much about the set bonuses, just because it's difficult enough to get the right fixed stat, get the right bonus stat, and the right exclusive stat. There's one card in particular, if you can get really good rolls on it, I recommend, and it is...
Right down here, set 11 Maestro?
Yes, Future Imperfect 2015 #1.
I got it up.
Effect is Ultimate Gauge Recovery, which will, at 6-star, give you between like 14 and 16% additional ult recovery, which is really nice. But yeah, if you can get a bonus stat and an exclusive stat on that of PvP increase or decrease, that's really, really nice.
So this with like a 3 or a 4 roll with an exclusive PvP increase or decrease is you're having a good time?
Oh yeah, I would be absolutely ecstatic if I could get that.
And so besides those 2 or 3 cards, just whatever gives you more PvP increase, decrease, attack, would you do crit rate at all, or?
If you can get it, crit rate is absolutely great for any character. I will say, for what it's worth, I believe set 11. Set 11 has a crit rate card that will give you a 2-set bonus for the attack percent. So the
right here, Captain America 2004 number 26.
So if you can combo that with the
I see this one used quite a bit actually.
Yep. So if you can combo that with the Maestro, there's your 2-piece set 11.
With attack percent bonus.
Yep.
For the 2-piece.
Yep, and just set 11 in general. Set 11 has a lot of good stuff. So again, if we're going...
Unfortunately, Dark Zone.
Yes. Unfortunately, Dark Zone. But if we're going with, just the most convenient things you can get, if we're really letting our imaginations run wild, you can get a 4-piece set bonus on set 11 by getting the Spider-Man and the Black Widow,
which is a lot of extra stuff.
Attack and crit damage. You'd have the 4-piece bonus of attack and defense pierce, and then you'd get 4 bonus stats. So that'd probably be the dream setup.
And a lot of math is going around right now that defense pierce might be better than even crit damage, because there's the crit damage decrease that a lot of people are getting.
I mean, just kind of eyeballing the math, what I can say is there's breaking points, but
yeah, of course.
Defense pierce is one of those stats where you don't have to invest too heavily to get a lot of defense pierce. Like, to get to the cap is not a major reroute, and this is the most true for Captain Marvel. She gets a lot of native defense pierce. So
yeah, you're saying without even trying, you're getting 30 or 40% just...
Yeah. Her specialization and her enhanced potential feed her defense pierce, and one of her exclusive stats is defense pierce.
You don't even have to think about it. You just roughly have 30 or 40 just without looking at that direction. That's pretty awesome. Now, run us through some of your tips and tricks, like what do you tend to do? You load into the match and your verse said Spider-Man. What do you tend to do?
I will open up with a dodge once we're really, really close to one another, so that as soon as I'm in range to get hit by something, I'm not able to be touched. And then I'm immediately going to use the ability that fills my ultimate bar because it's light speed movement. So that dodge that I used to get in range already refilled. And I put that ability on cooldown immediately because as soon as it comes back around, I'll have my ult. Then I'm dancing around. I'm being a little bit selective about it to try to keep an eye on the Spider-Man, but I have the other two dodges. One of the or the other two light speed movement abilities that feed me dodges, and I still have 3 dodges. So I'm basically just waiting until I see anything thrown my way, and I'm either gonna dodge it or use the light speed movement ability that itself acts as a dodge, and just keep the fight going. My goal is make them waste abilities and make them waste cooldowns trying to hit me with things that aren't gonna land, and just stay in combat. Even if
Yeah,
I'm
it really seems like Captain Marvel versus Spider-Man becomes like a time match. Spider-Man has to do something to you before you hit your ultimate, and when you hit your ultimate, their whole thing kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just stay alive, keep the fight going, get to the point where I have my ult. But the other thing is, they're in a more vulnerable position once they've used their dodges, and so when they, they'll see me keep flying at them very quickly. So they're going to be using some dodges, and sometimes I'll mix in throwing a basic attack so it looks like I'm beaming them with something, and they're tend to use some dodges. Now I will, in the middle of all this chaos, I'll throw in the heat-seeking ability because it's really good damage. I'll tend to wait a little bit for that until they have maybe 1 dodge left or no dodges left, because if I can land that, it's a nice big chunk. But
anything you'd like to tell us about the other matchups? Maybe Widow, anything else that you see issues with?
Well, I tend to fight them all fairly the same. It's more about knowing what to watch out for. So again, with Widow, I'm making sure that I have a dodge ready for when I think she's going to headshot. I have a dodge ready for when she's going to fire those shots in rapid succession. I have a dodge ready to not get blinded.
That's important.
The only matchup that kind of tends to change up my fight pattern, and that's only for now because I've fought this matchup on Omega Flight, and I'm gonna play it differently. But for where I'm at now, the Captain Americas that use their buff that gives them a lot of defense with the shields around them. It's just I won't win trades against the Captain America right now that's doing that. So that's just an invitation for him to take no damage and for me to take some damage. So when I see that, I tend to just fly away and wait for it to drop off. And if they want to chase me, I'll use a dash and a dodge and put down a little bit of damage while being too hard for them to hit.
Well, you'll have to see how that works now with the changes to the roof, right?
Oh no, I don't fly up. I'm not. How dare you, sir? No, I don't cheese people. I just fly back and I make them come at me. And then the other thing, and this is like really a central part of my dueling, is although I am trying to stall for my ultimate, not every match ends with my ultimate. There are many matches I can end before my ultimate, which is once we've gotten past what I would call like the
opening,
the keep fight going phase, where they've earned some dodges and I've avoided a lot of their big stuff. We enter into the I'm also starting to run low on dodges, but the best defense is a good offense, which is they're starting to get frustrated because they haven't really been able to hit me with anything, and they are trying to. So then I'll plant my feet and start the beam, and it's at this point that they're typically coming in on me. I'll try to time it where they're coming at me, just because as long as they're close to me, that beam is going to shred them.
Which is a really good. That's a really good lead-in. I talked about before when we were going over the abilities, a couple tips and tricks of how to land the beam more successfully.
Yes, and one of the big ones is know what they have available and try to wait until they don't have dodges. But even better yet, either it's safe to use a dodge to literally land on their head, because if you're directly on top of them, it's very hard for them to outrange it. But also if you can bait them into coming in, if you dodge back and you see them readjust to start walking at you, you can start the beam, and if they start walking at you and then realize what's happening and then turn around to try to walk back away from you, you really catch them.
It also seems like you can, if they go to maybe a Widow tries to set up her snipe, or concentrated fire, which is the triple tap, or any other big ability, you can sort of, we've talked about it before, dodge into it. So you dodge for the can't be hit, and then immediately go into the beam. So they have to decide, am I going to use a dodge to get out of my animation? And even at that point, they're still in your area of effect. It seems like a good beam.
Yep, and a lot of times the beam is what ends the match. The really tough fights where the beam isn't enough to end the match, then I have the ult. So it's like if we're both starting to run low, I have the ace up my sleeve that's going to turn it in my favor if it made it that far. But a lot of times, if I can get them to eat too much of the beam, even if they have a dodge available, the beam is in 3 sections, and they will often make the mistake once they realize, oh, there's a beam locked on me. The typical reaction you'll
Dodge
get
the first or second part.
yeah, they'll dodge. If they realize it's still on them, they might even dodge again. But it ramps up in damage. So what's very, very common is they dodge either just the first section or the first and the second, but they're out of dodges, and the third section just annihilates them. It's incredible.
The last thing I wanted to end on real quick is what costume sets would you recommend for specifically Dimension Duel?
Well, if we're going regional, I really like Midgardia because your offense, once you have popped your ult, you don't have to worry about your offense. It's fine. But in the meantime, you really have 2 big single target abilities. It's the Heat Seeker and the Beam. And the Midgardia set empowers both of those.
Cosmic Energy class skill. I have it up on the screen.
Yep, and that's both of them. So Midgardia is definitely the way to go for dueling, especially for those 2 powerful spells. And if you have to choose between the 2 for a non-regional, I really like Carol Corpse because that does just the beam. And between the 2, the beam is the more likely one to just, if you land it right, you'll end the fight.
Sounds great. Well, Khasino, tell them where they can find you if they want to ask about any more Captain Marvel stuff.
I'm pretty easy to find. Twitch.tv/Khasino, typically streaming MFR every day. YouTube.com/Khasino. And anyone is welcome to join my Discord server, discord.gg/Khasino.
All right, guys. Till next time. Have a good one.